it's on its way. And welcome. We had a nice break last month, but we're back and we're ready for the .NET user group in the general Houston area to have another meeting. We're virtual again. Probably some questions came in about when we might go in person. I think we're probably going to think about what that looks like in June. Talk about it with the board, and if Harris County makes it look like it's a cool idea and we have a place to do it, then it's a possibility. But in the meantime, we're going virtual. Keep it trucking, everybody. Hopefully we're able to bring you some more good content, make some connections, and try to do the best we can with what we got. As always, now we are partnering with the North Houston .NET user groups. Anyone from north side of town, I'm glad your commute was nice and short and joining us in the meeting today. I'm on the west side, so this is nice and short for me too. Our sponsor this month is Teals, and we'll have a presentation by the lovely Tanya Davis to talk to us about Teals and why you should volunteer. Let's start. Agenda. First of all and foremost, we have to talk about the agenda, which we're doing now. We'll have some announcements and some infos. Our sponsor will have a message. We'll have some prizes, wonderful, and then we'll have our main event to talk about .NET Report. Now, some housekeeping. The wireless is this one now. The wireless SSID is Dad. Click here for internet. Password, very easy to remember in case you need to connect. It's the same password on your luggage. Restrooms, don't make a mess. We have snacks. Oh man, we restocked. We went all out this time on snacks, and we've stocked up on all sorts of goodies. So if you go around to the kitchen area, it's kind of like a personalized snack bar for each of you that we've managed to procure, and we hope that you really enjoy and you partake in. Now, we have been part of the .NET Foundation group of meetups, and what's interesting is .NET Foundation is always increasing their amount of stuff that they have information for .NET. They have a speaker directory now, which has all the different people around the nation. So if you are a speaker for .NET and if you want to register with them, you can go to the .NET Foundation website and register yourself as a speaker so that people who are looking for speakers about .NET will find you and contact you and have you speak to a group like this right here. They're also constantly changing the .NET Foundation is a group that manages the open source aspect of .NET or .NET Core. And I think they're looking for people to participate and be involved so that we can help move the direction of .NET together. Other news, as always, you can connect with us on our social media areas. Presentations will be on YouTube. We've updated the website, Tiny and New, and we'll be putting the links to these events and any other materials that happen to pop up as part of these discussions or notes. We'll be putting into the website and starting to expand it as we go. North Houston .NET user group also links and links and links. So connect with them, connect with us, connect with all of us, because it's one big happy Houston network. And the more we talk to each other, better off we are. Some companies are hiring. I looked up a few of these. Some of these consulting companies and software in Houston have some jobs available. Catapult, Credera, Headspring, Improving, Udesic, all have kind of Houston area jobs. There's a bunch of different things. So if you're interested and you're looking, you can post in there. Our LinkedIn group is a good way to get connected with a lot of people too. And recruiters and such are prowling around in that area looking for meat, fresh or otherwise. So if you're interested and you're looking for work, then that's a good place to start and connect with any of us here to network. Now, we're going to try to bring up this presentation from our sponsor, Teals, the lovely Tanya Davis. Let me see if I can do this appropriately. So I'm going to stop this. Going to switch to this. Going to start.
Start it too, though. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, sir.
All
Well,
right, so
thank
whenever
you.
you want me to change slides, give me a change the slide. Let me know.
Okay, thank you very much. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening and speak with you all. I'm just going to go on record as saying the snacks in this place are.
What? I
I went I went down to the kitchen and there was nothing good there. I'm
you
sorry.
didn't look.
And you only have
I,
yourself to blame for that.
say I didn't look good. Okay. So want to just share a little bit about Teals. We really are glad to be a partner with the .NET User Group. We've been partnering for at least 4, 5, 6 years now. And you guys have really been a part of the growth in Houston. And so we're just appreciative of allowing us to come and share with you guys every year. So the Teals program, um, it's be a role model, volunteer. It is a volunteer opportunity, and you can go ahead and click to the next slide. I hope I took it. Oh, I think so. This is the Houston team, and for those of you who have heard a portion of this in the past, you notice that it used to be just one picture and then it went to 2 pictures and now we're at 3 pictures. So when I say the growth is happening in Houston, I mean the growth is happening in Houston. And so we do support everything from east to west. I think Arrow, you were in a class way on the east side last year in a remote model, but we go all the way north to Cold Spring Oakhurst and south to Sabine Pass. So and I'll talk a little bit about the Houston numbers. I realize I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, you can go ahead and flip it over. So this is the Tills Houston team. Go ahead and put this all up at once. So one of the issues, we always like to lay the foundation on why TEALS exists. So I'm not going to read to you, but I am going to talk about the challenge in computer science education. So we all know the stats on the jobs, and even like you guys started off with your announcements, the jobs are available. They're there. We know they're there. One of the biggest challenges, though, is that computer science as a content area does not have enough teachers. And so as we move to make an impact in this space, and Microsoft is not the only company doing it. If you've heard from Google and Amazon Future Engineer and the Google Classroom, all of us are out here just trying to drum it up, drum up the interest. But as much as we're trying to drive the interest to pursue tech and CS careers, we don't have enough teachers in high school that are there to actually facilitate that. And so the leverage that we have with volunteers such as yourselves is that we are now able to go ahead and instruct students in problem solving and computational thinking and computer science courses so that they know that it's an option for them to pursue as a career, whether they go to college or whether they go to boot camp or whether they go to community college. There is a path for everyone. And so that's what we're doing. We approach it, it's like you have a problem, you come up with a solution that you think is temporary, right? So, but we've been doing this now since 2009. So our little stopgap approach to solving the gap uh, has continued to go on. I would love nothing else than to put myself out of a job. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. But we still continue. It's still only about 35 to 40% of high schools across America actually have computer science teachers on their roster. So if you just think about that, like we were kind of talking, some of you might have heard us going back and forth talking about physics and computer science and business and math and all that. Well, you got all these English teachers, you got all these math teachers, you got all social studies and all that, but you just don't have enough to do computer science. So TEALS, what is TEALS and how do we help? It is technology, education, and literacy in schools. I always joke and I say, we thought of a cute name and then made it fit. But what we do,
It's called a backronym.
a acronym. So now you'll hear that repeated. Okay, just good. I may, and let me just go on record. I may give credit. I may not.
It's not mine. It is a thing. That is a
It
real
is a
thing.
thing. Oh,
Yeah, backronym is
I'm
a thing.
educated. I'm
There
educated
you go.
now. So there I can use it. So yes, we backronymed it. Now I just made it a verb. Look at me.
Now you're a software engineer.
Exactly. So, but we've been doing this really more than 10 years. Like I said, 2009. And what we do is we recruit industry professionals to team teach with classroom teachers. The model is based upon the teacher's skill set. So if I'm a brand new teacher, say I came over from math, I came over from science, social studies, French, wherever I came from, I may or may not have had a computer science class in undergrad or anywhere. And so those people need a lot of help. They're willing, but not yet able. And sometimes then we have teachers who have a little bit of skill set, but may not be as confident and as strong as they would like to be in delivering the content. Many times, computer science teachers have more than one prep. So you might be teaching 4 or 5 different course titles. And so then just having help and assistance in this space is very powerful and very impactful for teachers. So that is how we do it. We work with a teacher anywhere up to 4 years, depending on the skill set and the need in as teachers, and then also as maybe teaching assistants as they become a little bit stronger and more confident. So, but simultaneously, even though it's really targeted at building capacity for teaching in high school, the students can't help but be benefited by the presence of industry professionals in their classrooms every day or every other day, right? And so that in and of itself, just seeing that, oh yeah, real people actually have these kinds of jobs. It's not just the counselor or the teacher saying you should try this, right? These are actually people who are doing it. And you get to know your kids, they get to know you, they know you have kids, they know you have life stuff that they see happening like in their own homes. And so then it becomes more real to them. And the self efficacy that comes from them seeing people who do it is just astronomical. You can flip. I get a little passionate. I was trying not to be too long winded,
No,
but I felt like,
I
yeah.
like, I really like that part of it because since I volunteer too, like I know
Mhm.
so many times that when there's some concept that they're teaching and the teacher's like, here's this thing, and the student's like, really? Like, I don't think that's how it is.
Right.
And that can come in and present like, oh, well, this is how it works, or here's the extra information, and here's how I do it in my daily
Mhm.
work. So it's really powerful to have that
Mhm.
industry part of it.
The
'Cause-
students, if I may interject, the students
mhm.
are very excited to hear real life stories about uh, if you do this, I'm talking about a little program they may be typing for their class. If you do it this way, this is what's going to happen. If you do it this way, you're going to take care of this, and this problem later on.
Mhm.
And then you can spend a moment and tell about crises that have happened and should have been averted. They,
Love
without
those.
exception, they are focused on that.
It's amazing, isn't it? How they're drawn to that kind of stuff. And don't let cyber stuff, like with Target and all those things, it's like those just go such a long way, right? In talking about the impact and why it's important that we have people who know what they're doing, right? So, but volunteers are our special sauce, we like to say. We don't exist without you. And so that's why I said I would love to work my way out of a job, but we still need you. So you fill in that gap for our teachers. The impact over time is really, it's like we're on this exponential curve, if you will. And so we're starting to see now, since we've been around so long, we're starting to see students who were in some of the early classes go to college, get jobs, and come back and volunteer with us. And so we are extremely pleased, and we like to lift those folks up as examples of what actually can happen. Um, and so that is one of the things, that little stat there about 45% of students saying that adult encourage them to pursue a career in CS. It is so powerful. It's like when you listen to people talk about why, you get all these different reasons, right? But frequently it can go back to like one person or somebody who just said, you can do it, right? I remember for me, my aunt said she was the human resources director at the VA, right? You know, government job, whatever. But she's looking and she's like, no, you're going to be an engineer because according to these pay scales, this is what you need to do, right? And so it's like, and me and my cousin were like, okay, you know, we'll do it. I settled on computer science. He settled on electrical, and we didn't even think about it, right? You just do it. And so when you go in and you show a kid, you say it to a kid, yeah, you can do this. It's totally feasible, totally within your grasp and within your realm of possibility. They just believe it and they take off with it. So we can't underscore enough the power and value of the volunteers bring to our program. And you can go to the next slide. And I'll be quick. So these are the numbers. This is what I'm saying. So this year we're in 35 schools. We are up now to 54 applications coming into the 21-22 school year, which will probably turn into about 60 classes. Sometimes we have a couple of classes at a single school, depending on if the school might either have two teachers or they might have a block schedule where they can offer multiple classes. This year, we're actually that 828 is down a little bit. We were at well over 900 last year. We anticipate being over 1,000 students impacted in Houston, a full third of which are female, we are proud to say, which you guys know the stats in that space as well. I think I did hear a report from or Witty, that we are like at 28% in the industry. So it's creeping up. It used to be 15, 20, you know, so it's creeping up, but it's nowhere near the 50%. But we are proud to say that in TEALS, we are making strides in that space. One of the things that we have begun requiring schools to do even before the 2020 craziness that all happened with all the racial unrest and social injustice and all of that, we actually had asked our schools to commit to addressing those numbers from underrepresented populations for this school year even. So we had already committed to that. We've made a further commitment in that our CEO has charged us with the task of partnering specifically with African American schools. So that is a challenge that as a community of TEALS regional managers will have to step up to the plate to get those engaged. But we brought on some new regional managers in the southeastern part of the country. And so we're excited about that and to see how that's going to play out. But it actually increased our force by about a third because we brought on like 18 people in the fourth quarter. Well, it's our second quarter, fourth quarter of the year for normal people. Volunteers here in Houston, well over 64 organizations. Is not just Microsoft. It can't just be Microsoft. And we have 120 volunteers this year. We've calculated that we are going to need about 180 coming up into the 21-22 school year. So when you see me ping you on, you can go ahead and flip. When you see me ping you on LinkedIn, you'll see my face. It's the same face that was it's like, accept my request and like it and repost it and whatever. We'll be having weekly or bi-weeklies through May. And so we will continue to recruit. We do have basically two categories. We have four, like it's actually more than 4 courses, but they kind of break down into the 2 categories. So I get questions often. It's like, oh, I haven't really programmed in 15 years, right? Well, high school programming is a lot. You can pick it right back up, right? It's like as long as you have that ability and you know how to do an algorithm and you can do the basics, you're good. So we've got intro classes. There actually is an AP, which is advanced placement for those of you who may or may not have gotten a chance to take those in high school, but those are for college credit. So we have like an introductory college credit class and the advanced AP Computer Science A. We are also now supporting computer science topics. This looks like, just as things have evolved, now the state of Texas has outlined computer science as a program of study for a STEM pathway. And so it actually has recommended to schools what they should be teaching. That just happened, believe it or not, in the October of 2019. So when I tell you the evolution is slow, but it's coming, we really are making some strides. So now schools know exactly what to do. Before they were kind of all over the place. So now we can partner with them at each of those levels. And so there's an opportunity for everybody to help, regardless of your skill set, whether you know Java or C or not, whether you just know the intro. We need volunteers at all of those levels. So the computer science topics now, we're bringing in cyber this year. I anticipate that in as much as they can get some AI and machine learning stuff at the high school level, it's not going to be like the highest level, but we will support some of those classes as well. All right, next slide. I'm nearing my thing. So how do we support our volunteers? Because obviously that's a big task to teach a class, because it is for the whole school year. And what we do, we have training in the summer, so we don't drop you in and just leave you there. It's about 20 hours of synchronous, I'm using the appropriate terminology now, synchronous training, and then about 20 hours of asynchronous training that covers the content. We have broken that up. We used to do it like when we were in person, a full day in June, a full day in July, half day in August. Now we've broken it up into 1 and 2 hour chunks. So we've even come from last year, we did a 4-hour chunk. We were all new to the virtual world. So we did 4-hour chunks. Now we've broken it down. We got them in 2-hour chunks, 1 to 2 hour chunks. But we will train you so that you are comfortable, you know the tools and things to use in the classroom. If you've not been in a classroom since you got out, then those are some things that you want to know. So you don't have to be afraid of that. We do have meetings with your teaching team, your classroom observations, and opportunities to share in meetups. We have our own to support the community, which just bolsters and supports everybody in their efforts, because there are best practices shared that are very valuable, especially with the teachers. And then, of course, you've got dedicated TEALS regional managers to support you with any answers and questions that you might have. Then I think the next one is my thank you. No, it's not. What do volunteers week look like? So basically, you do have to, because I do want to make sure you get to meet here. So you're volunteering in the class to teach or be a TA. And if you're teaching, you'll need to prepare, right? And so there's 1 to 3 hours a week for potential planning, depending on your role, and then 2 to 3 hours every week to do the instruction, to actually go into the classroom. And we have remote and in person. Most times we have both options available. We don't know yet. The schools have not, TEA has not given direction to the schools. And so the schools are not giving us any indication yet whether or not the fall is going to be remote or whether it's going to be in person. I would hope that if the state continues to make progress, that we would be in person, but we can't say definitively. But that's what a typical week looks like. The preparation might be a team meeting on a Sunday night, Friday night, the team works it out. If you can't, some of the questions that we always get is, well, what if I've got vacation scheduled, or what if I have a startup and I'm just unable to go in? We got a new product announcement. Whenever you work it with your team. And so you'll be on a team of 2 to 4 with 2 to 4 other volunteers, and so working together, you figure out what works best for the team. I always tell the story, you can go ahead and put, of one team that had 2 travelers on it, which was not, I didn't realize they were both traveling, and they had this elaborate Excel sheet where they had who was going when. I was like, that's impressive. But so do you work it out with your team? And we hear from volunteers all the time that it's good for them. It's either help them with their own kids, giving them patience with coworkers, even with presentation skills and all kinds of things. And then, just the feeling you get when you volunteer and you know that you've made an impact and you've made a difference, that just resounds with most folks. And so 91% of our folks say that they find it rewarding. Something, I don't know, the dopamine or the whatever, something kicks off in there. All right, you can go on. Oh yeah, that lasting relationship. We do have some teachers and volunteers. They get on their own chat, and this is the last one. We can sit here for a minute. you know, it just depends. It doesn't necessarily always work like that, but I know I was doing an observation and they were talking about a picnic that weekend, and I was kind of feeling a little sad because I wasn't gonna be invited. It's like, oh. I was like, well, that's good. I'm glad you guys have such great rapport. Yeah. But she was on her second year at that particular campus, so they had all gotten pretty close. Any questions, comments? I know that was I tried to be fast. Sorry. AKAMS, the Teals Texas Volunteer app is there. No questions, no
And
comments.
I'll have a link to Teals also on the meetup, so in the sponsor message. So if you want more information, you can start there. And then Tanya, if you want to put your contact info on the chat window too, and then people can get in touch.
Oh, duh. There we go. I put my comment about the kitchen. I could actually put a real comment.
I know. You're working. This is a working meeting.
Yeah. And you know what? I have can you do it? My thing is on the next.
This one?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Does it do I click it or what?
If you click it, I think.
Oh, it spins.
Yeah. If you do it.
All right.
Somebody yell out.
Do I have to click a button? Stop.
Yep, there you go. Oh. Somebody.
Maybe? What is that? Neck pillow?
Neck pillow.
A neck pillow. But you know what? I don't know. How do you do it? Because you guys don't do raffle tickets anymore.
No. So we'll do is Lisa will pick someone from random.
Okay.
Someone randomly in the chat, and they will be a winner.
Yep, I use a random generator, so we'll get someone.
Oh, cool. Okay. Oh, wait, that's on the line. The neck pillow? Because what I'll need, and Gary, you can get it for me. We'll ship it to you.
Yeah, just get a mailing address.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's how we run it.
Who's our winner, Lisa?
Getting it right now. We got 50 people on. Or did you want me let me not include Tanya?
Yeah, don't include me.
Yeah.
I have my teal swag.
She gets all the good stuff. She gets first take out of everything.
All right, it is number 12. So let me look real quick. Is there someone that's as .NET report, or do I skip that one?
That's me. This is Ahmed. I'm with Razi. So.
Oh, okay, Ahmed. Okay, so Ahmed won the neck pillow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yay! A speaker. Cool.
So
I'm going to do, how many people? I was going to do 5. Is that too many or?
All right. Oops.
Oh, wow, we'll have a lot of prizes for people today.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if I can.
Yep, there you go.
It does a thing. Okay. Memory stick.
Memory stick.
I'll just run it a few times. Let's do.
Okay.
Earbuds.
Yeah.
3. Keep some sticky notes.
Oh, I know what those are.
Delayed reaction. What is this? These are your prizes.
No, we had so you'll see this again.
Repeat.
We have don't do a repeat. Nobody got the ninja. I was so.
No, let's do it.
Did you keep?
Let's cheat. Yeah, get someone
cheat.
Yeah,
I sounds like I was really wanting a ninja.
Yeah, if you're going these away, shoot. Ninja Cat
Ninja
t-shirt.
Cat. The T-Rex one.
So Lisa, if you pick 5, and
1,
then
2, 3,
Tanya
4,
will send the goodies out to people.
Yes. So Lisa, you can just send me, and then I can send them out. Does that work?
Right. Yep, that works.
Well, I appreciate you guys letting me join.
Thanks for your sponsorship and thanks for coming out.
Oh, we are always glad to do it.
There is a
I'm sorry.
coming up soon.
We do. Thank you. I'm Lord help me. Okay, that is AKA MS Teals Houston
Yeah. I'm gonna
info.
put it on the,
Let me make sure,
yeah,
because
put it in the chat.
you know what happens? I have typoed before in
Uh-oh.
those, and then people are
Yeah.
like, that doesn't
It
go
doesn't work.
anywhere. Oh wait, I'm in the wrong. Because
And
I
then
don't want to
when's the
mess
next
it.
volunteer session coming up?
Yeah,
For
that
people.
is April 24th.
All
See,
right.
it didn't. Teals Houston.
Cool.
Wait. Oh my goodness.
All right. I'm gonna let you do
Sorry.
that.
Yeah,
So
you let me
thank you
do that. I'm
again.
sorry.
Thanks again, Tanya, and thanks Teals for sponsoring. And if you are interested, get in touch with Tanya here on the chat, or email her, or go to the website and whatever you want to do. We got goodies there. We have our own prizes actually to give away because of our fabulous sponsor. So we've got 6 prizes that have been selected from the list. And we'll randomly select people. So we've got a JetBrains license, we've got wireless headphones, Raspberry Pi kit, Echo Dot, power bank, and hard drive. So Lisa will pick out some more people. It's a small group today, so I think we're going to see some. I think everyone's going to walk away with something. So this is great.
I had a
While that's
typo.
going on, we're going to introduce our speaker. Razi Syed is here from .NET Report to talk about .NET Report Builder. And I will pass it on to Razi.
Hey, Tanya.
Thank you, Garo. Okay, let me
Thanks,
see
Razi.
if I can.
You're becoming the presenter and you have the power.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Okay, so let me see if I'm on the right screen. Okay. So yeah, thank you again for letting me do the presentation for .NET Report. So our company is basically a software company based in Houston, and it is for other software developers. So .NET Report basically focuses on providing a reporting solution for .NET developers, and it is a different type of reporting for .NET developers. So everybody can see my screen, right? I'm gonna go ahead and switch to the slides. So obviously everybody kind of knows what reporting is, and but I just still always do a quick introduction. Reporting is basically a representation of data in a meaningful way, right? Either using charts or tables, which answers questions for you, like what were my sales last month, or I need a list of employees by department, or which countries order our product most. So you're just basically getting meaningful information, and information that you need depends on the business and the software, right? Whether it's different industry, whether healthcare or for schools or accounting or anything. Pretty much any business application in any industry needs reports, right? And of course, all of us being software developers, we know that that's one of the main components of any enterprise application that we work in, right? And being software developers, we have to add these reports to business applications. Okay, so that's where kind of .NET Report comes in. Obviously, there are options available to .NET developers for reporting right now. Microsoft has its own SSRS approach, right, which is historically the main thing that Microsoft kind of gives you. But SSRS approach is where users have to, the developer has to start each report from scratch, right? You have to code each report, write stored procedure, design the output. And .NET Report is like the SSRS approach is an older technology, is kind of moved towards servers now. And it's almost impossible to embed it with .NET Core, and even MVC, you have to go through workarounds and include that ASPX page, which is, I don't know if anybody here knows what I'm talking about, but it's a painful process. So it's not really, designed for delivering it with your application. Then other solution Microsoft offers for .NET developers obviously is Power BI. But it's still kind of, you have to code each report. It's very powerful. It's called Power BI for a reason. It does a lot of different things. It has tons of features, and end users can interact with a lot of things. But as far as I know, you cannot create they cannot create or design new reports. They can interact with what a developer creates, but it also becomes very, very expensive. It's a very expensive solution. Then the third thing you can do is, you have third-party tools like Telerik has one, Active Report has one, but most of them are similar. Like if you just go and do a Google search for ad hoc reporting or reporting solutions for .NET developers, you'll get a bunch of options, but they're mostly similar in concept to SSRS, where the developer writes each report. You code each report, you code a stored procedure to go behind it, and then and you can always code your own solution and reinvent the wheel, right? But you don't want to do that. Pretty much nobody should do that because there are lots of good options available. Okay, so I'm gonna now introduce what .NET Report is and how we're different. Okay, so .NET Report has a configure not code approach. Okay, and it's a web-based reporting solution. There is no iframe or anything hanky-panky like that. It's actually the code is in your application, so it's all web-based. It's very easy to install and embed in an existing application or a new application. It's actually very, very easy. And I'm gonna do a presentation where we'll actually open up Visual Studio and do the thing. And I'll show you how easy it is. You can let end user manage and create their own custom reports. So this is something which really differentiates us, where end users can kind of do their own ad hoc reporting. No, thank you, okay. So other developers can set up or manage reports for them. So a lot of our users, they just say, okay, no, we don't want users doing their own reports. We still want to do it for them. Sure, you can do that. You can set up the reports. It's actually very easy and very fast. So you can still create reports for them, but the process is very, very fast. And again, I keep saying this again and again, that there is no need to code each report. The output is generated for you. So that's one thing that's mainly different. Like, in SSRS, you always start with a blank sheet and you start dragging stuff to it. There's nothing like that. Another big thing is that the front end is completely open source and it's available on GitHub. And I'll show you that as well. It ties into your own application's authentication and claims framework. So whatever you're using for your claims, when you log in, the system just ties into it, because it's actually code that lives inside your application. And the front end works with most modern end frameworks like Angular, Vue, or React. I mean, I know this is big nowadays for .NET developers as well, where people use Angular or Vue a lot more than just using Razor pages. Okay, so and there are many, many features that come out of the box, like you can schedule reports, you can export it to PDF or Excel, you can do filters, dashboards, lots of things are out of the box. Okay. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the architecture. The slide is a little crooked. I don't know why, but anyways. So the front end presentation layer is built with Bootstrap, Knockout. I mean, it's all open source technologies. Mostly it's like only JavaScript and HTML. And for charts, we use Google Charts. Although we have people who have switched it out to Chart.js and other things, so you can kind of do that. Then there is a front end application layer, which can either be in .NET Core or ASP or MVC. We actually still have web forms version as well, because obviously some people still use it. We try not to recommend it, but to each their own. Anyways, and what it does is basically connects it to your database, whether it's MySQL or SQL Server, and then, so the flow is basically the front end calls your application layer here, and then it calls a backend service. Now this backend service is closed source and it can be hosted on your premises or it can be hosted on our cloud. It's up to the user, but that's also written in .NET Core and it talks to a SQL database, but this is like kind of behind the scenes. This is all open source and in your application. So everything here is always in your environment. It's on your database. So the backend service, even though it connects and sends stuff back to the front end application layer, it never sees your database. It's always in here. Okay. So I'm going to start with the coding demo. Are there any quick questions or anything before we move on to the demo and actually see the product? Okay, I guess nothing. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, start a new project. Okay, so here's the fun part. We go to Visual. Actually, it's very straightforward. So you go to Visual Studio, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new project. So you can do a .NET Core project or MVC. I'm just going to do MVC. It's a little simpler. I can call it anything like my test application. And I'm doing it in a new project, but you can do it in an existing application as well. You just simply install the install .NET Report through a NuGet package. So while it's creating it, let me go back to the slide. Yeah, so we are going to go and configure it with the Northwind database. Okay, so here's my local Northwind database that I want to connect to. It has my tables, like, this is on my local machine. It has my customer table, employees table, and all of that good stuff. So I'll go back to Visual Studio because my project is there. So this is my brand new project, right? If I can probably run it too. It's just what Visual Studio installed is the basic template. Right. I think I skipped a step. I'm feeling like I skipped a step, but anyways, let me quickly go and manage my. Now you can install NuGet package different ways, right? But I usually just do it through the interface, and I can go to browse and look for .NET report. So here's our packages. So like, there are different ones. This is for .NET Core, this is for ASPX, but the default one is for MVC. And that's what we're gonna install. Okay. So what this does is, yeah, go ahead.
Does it support .NET 5 already?
Yeah, it works with .NET 5 framework also, yes. Actually, I think now we're, actually, I'm sorry, no, it's with 4.7 is .NET Core. I've done it with 3. I honestly have not tested it with framework 5 yet, but
Okay.
It's 4.7, I think, is what it's using.
Okay.
But you'll see, like, I'll show it to you. You'll kind of see that the code directly comes into your application. So see, it's actually adding the controllers and the views and everything in your application. So let's see. It's hard to see all the bunch of files that it's adding. Okay, so now it's done installing. It gives you a little bit of a quick readme that installing this package, add some stuff to your web config, and you can run your project and navigate to this stuff. Okay. So just quickly, I should have probably expanded this before, but when you did the new template, it just had the home controller. And what the .NET report does is it adds its own controller and code in here. So, it's basically straight up C# code. It has some instructions and comments in there. Your view is directly right here in the application also. So the controller has this dashboard and report and, all this stuff. So everything is basically open source and comes into your application. Okay. So the README is talking about that you have to set up the app setting key into your web config. Okay. Now this is where it connects to how it connects to the backend service. Okay. So when you install .NET report, it adds this stuff to your web config where you have the account API token and data connected. You have to take these 3 tokens from the online account and put in. And you can see that the API URL is on our cloud. Okay, but if you are doing a local, you can also host it locally. Then all you would do is just simply switch out the API URL to your local server. Okay, but I'm gonna do the cloud version for now. Let me go ahead and go to. So to do that, you have to actually sign into your online .NET report account. Obviously, it's very, very easy to sign up. You just simply click on this button, and that's basically from our main website. Sorry. Just put in your name and your email. That's pretty much it. So I'm gonna go ahead and my name. I'm sure I have an account with Razi said the .NET report. So I'm gonna just put in a dummy email. When you sign up, just put in your real email though. But anyway, so all you have to do is just put in your name and your email and it signs up for the account. So that's not good. Let me see.
Do you need to contact the developers?
Yeah,
you are logged in though, Razi. You can probably.
But I am logged in though. Okay, so I'm not sure why it took me to the error, but yeah, this is where I needed to go when it starts up. Okay, so this is the admin panel where when you sign up for an account, and I guess it did sign up with my Razi22 email, fake email. Maybe it detected that I put in a fake email address and it said you're not allowed. Anyways, so the first thing we do is we go on here and you can set up different databases in .NET Report. We call it the data connection. Okay. So all you have to do is just simply, I'm just going to call it default. Just name it and you tell it what database type it is. And this is one thing that you have to put in, that what connection key it's going to use from your web config. Okay. So all I'm doing is just giving it a name and a connection key. And what this does is it gives me my API keys. Okay. So these are the 3 keys that I need to go plug into my web config, and then the system will know that which account to use. Okay. Is everybody following me so far? Any questions? Just do let me know. Okay. So I'm going to continue with this. So this is my public API token, which goes in this guy, I think. Yeah, it says your public API token, right? Should be the column. Okay. Then I put in my private API token, which goes here. So this basically is your, and then your data connect API token goes here, okay, which is going to be with this guy. Okay. The other thing that I need is my actual connection string. So I have that in Notepad here, which is just connecting to my local Northwind database. Okay. I'm going to just copy that in here and paste it in. And the key that it put in was the default key right here, right? So that's basically what .NET Report uses to pick up the connection string from your local project. So I'm just going to go ahead and run it now. And so the README file also talks about it, but you can just simply expand it and see here that you have your .NET Report controller and setup controller here, right? So these are the controllers where you can go for the report. So I should be able to, this is my local application, so should be able to just say .NET Report. And so this is basically the system where I can actually create a new report and run reports and things like that, right? So everything is basically running locally. It installs the whole front end in the application. To create a new report, you click on this button, and what .NET Report does is it works with a folder structure. So you can basically, this is the default folder that's always there. You can add new folder and create a report. Okay. Right now, obviously, I have not selected. I have to do the setup first. So right now, you see it when I click on it, it gives me the different report type options and data I can connect from. But the first thing before that is actually I have to go and set up and configure my database to be used with .NET Report. Does anyone have a question or?
I kind of have a question. So you set up the keys on the back end, but how does that interface with this? Or what does the backend provide to the front end?
Okay, so the backend basically, well, once I configure it, then when I run an actual report, then I think you'll be able to see it better.
Okay.
Okay, so I think I'll have to do some troubleshooting here. It does not like my SQL server. Is it not running?
Is the connection string name case sensitive?
I don't think it should be, but the good thing is that we can.
In your web interface,
actually,
you use lowercase default, but in your web config, you use uppercase default.
Okay, I can put that in here. And actually, the thing is that I'm kind of glad that it did that, because I can actually show you where it's actually running the code. So it's calling this right here, and I can put a breakpoint here, and I can troubleshoot it. So let's see what's going on. But yeah, I'll come back to your question, and I'll show you, and you'll kind of, once I run it, then you'll see exactly what the backend service does. So while it's loading, I can kind of talk about it. What the backend service does is that it saves the schema and the structures, like, whenever you're saving a report or creating a report. So all of that stuff is handled by the backend service. So whenever you create a new report or you edit one or you set up a schedule or something like that, that all is, saved in the backend database structure. Okay, so this is fine. So see what it's doing is it's going to pick up my stuff from web config. I think I put the connection. So this is where it actually tries to connect to the database, right? And that's where I think it's erroring out. Okay, so my connection string looks right. I think that my connection string that I have is wrong, probably. Okay, hold on. I think it's not in OLEDB format. I think I picked up the wrong connection string. Okay, let me look for the right one. Okay, give me a second. I'll pause this. I guess I should have tested my connection string better. Anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick up my online databases connection string. I know that one should work. Let's drop this guy. Switch it to. Okay, so I just switched it to my server one instead of the local host one. Maybe there's something wrong with that one. Oh, I think the provider was the problem, that I should not have the provider. Anyways, let's see. So .NET setup. Yeah, and this time it opened the connection. So that's fine. Okay, there we go. So this is how the setup page should look like. So what it does was, once you connect to the setup page, what it does is it locally brings in all my tables from the database and all the views from the database as well. So like, for example, you know, in my Northwind database, there was like employees, customers. So I can just basically, what I do is I just choose the data that I want to use in the system. Okay. So employees is one of the tables. You can just choose a display name to be something different. You can select which columns you want to see in the report, right? There are other things that you can configure here. You can provide the database type and things like that. So basically it's a little bit of a configuration. Okay. So when I hit save this table, so this is, Gaurav, to your question, like, you know, when it saves the employee data structure, what it did was it picked up the schema and all of this stuff, and it saved it in the backend service, right? So hopefully that kind of makes a little bit of sense. Now I can go to the report route. And so now if I try to create a new report, so employees should be here for me to pick from the data section, right? So I can just simply choose. And I mean, right now, obviously, I'm going to start with something very, very basic. Okay, so there are different type of report. List is probably the simplest thing that you can do. You can just do a simple select and get a list of the employees, right? It can, and I'm going to build it up to some more reports where, you know, you can do something more interesting. You can, when you set it up properly, you can, you know, join different tables. You can select data from one table and the other, and the system does the joins automatically and everything. But this is kind of showing you how the designer works, right? So you just basically choose a report type, you choose your data. Now, let's say I want to get the employee's first name, last name, and like, let's say I want to get their city and maybe their picture. I don't know which one's the right one, picture or photo, pick one. So now you can also do things here where you can, if you want to just move it around, like let's say I want the first name column first, last name next. You can add filters here. So you can say, for example, my city should be equal to Houston. The system is pretty smart and it picks up, like, let's say if it's a date filter, then you will get different options. So for example, for birth date, you'll get a calendar automatically, or you can get a range that says, you know, within the last year, or you can do a between where you can say this is the beginning date, ending date, right? So it has a lot of different options. I'm going to move. I guess I'm going to move picture first. Okay. Then you can also save. So to save the report, you can just simply say employee list. You give it a name. You can also schedule the report to be emailed to somebody every day or every week or every month. You know, so it has like lots of different options that you can do right here. You choose which one to sort by, and I can hit save and run report. Okay. So there you go. I mean, simple. You just created your very first report And it was, I think configuration took like a few minutes, but I mean, you could see that you started Visual Studio Project, you installed the NuGet package, you did your configuration, you went into your database setup, you chose a table, and there it is, right? It has a lot of things that are built into it. Server-side, actually, server-side sorting is built into it. So like, let's say this is a total of 9 records, but like, let's say if I had 100 records, I could just simply, the system would only bring 30 records at a time. You can, so sorting is built in. So see, you don't have to code for any of this stuff. You can export to PDF or Excel. The PDF, the first time it takes a little bit of time because it installs some PDF rendering software in the backend. But once it's installed, then it's fairly fast after that. You can come back to that. But yeah, so that's basically, okay, here we go. So, so that's basically how simple it was to add, one basic report. Okay, now if I go back to any questions so far before I do something more interesting and create a different report? No, okay. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add like some other tables, for example, orders. I'll save that. Oh, I haven't selected any columns, so I'll go ahead and select all of these. So another thing that the system can do is, like you see, you can do relations here. If the employee ID is clearly a foreign ID, right? Foreign table. So what you do is you can just go in here and check and say, this is a foreign key, and it joins to my employees table. And I guess I can do an inner join here. But the value that I want to display is, like, let's say I want to display the first name, right? And I can hit done, and I save this, okay? Now, when I go back to my report builder, I guess I should go back to reports and create a new report. I should see orders here as well, right? And because now I can do, like, let's say order date, let's say we want to pick employee ID here, or maybe the order ID. So because I define a foreign join, I can, when I go and choose an employee filter, the system will automatically change it to a drop down, and it will bring the list of employees from there, and I can just simply say Michael. And then I can also do something that's called filter on the fly. I mean, I think I'm kind of jumping into different features as I'm seeing it. Maybe I should do it in a better way, but I hope people are kind of following me that what kind of, things that you can do for creating different reports. So see, right now the employee is filtered as Michael, right? So it's giving me everybody who's all Michael. And I can change it right here on the fly, and I can change it to, let's say, Margaret, and refresh it. Then it's going to give me everybody who's Margaret. Okay. Now, because I've also defined a join, I can actually, let's do something a little bit different, which is like a summary report, because we've just been doing list report, which is actually the most basic one. With this, you can group by, for example, you can do date, and you can say, okay, I want to see you want to group it by month, and you want to see, like, let's say how many orders each of these employees did, right? So all you can do is you can just simply change it to a count field, to group it to count. And then when let me go ahead and remove this guy now. And then when I save and run it, it should give me a count of how many orders we did in July, August, September, right? So it's giving me a monthly count. And the system automatically has a inner report built in. If you've worked with SSRS, you know that for to do a sub report or something, you have to create a completely separate report and join in things, but .NET report has that all built in. So for example, these are the 490 orders. If you expand this, it should give me this with the 490 records, each individual record, and see it's server-side paging this one too, but these are the 490 records that it's collapsed up top, right? Like, let's say, and there are things that you can do pretty quickly. For example, like, let's say I want to see the employees only inside the details. I don't want to see in the top row. Then I can do this, and I can save and run that. And it's going to give me those two columns here. But when I go ahead and expand it, it's going to give me the employee ID in here, or rather the employee name in here. Anyways, but I can go all day just creating different kind of reports, but just wanted to create a couple of basic ones that would give you an idea of how easy and fast it is to do this. one more I'll do is a bar chart. So if you can pretty much have the same report and you can convert it into a bar chart, and then it's going to plot the data on a chart for you as well. So it's going to create this chart for you where, you know, all these items. So you can kind of see how quickly it is to, you know, create some very powerful reports. Within minutes, we did 3 or 4 different type of reports instead of taking time to go back and write back and store procedures, start from scratch, do something else. And again, the code is directly built into your system. Okay.
The flavor of this reminds me a lot of how Power BI does visuals, where you're really just giving it, here's the data, show it to me in a nice way.
Yeah,
and you don't
exactly.
You don't have to give it a lot of ceremony there.
Exactly. So that's where the configuration part comes in. It has a lot of different options and things built in. But the thing is that, you know, with this, you don't have to be a developer, right? Once you embed this into your application, you can actually just, you know, your end users can run the report, right? I mean, with Power BI still, I think it's a developer who kind of sets it up. I think it's for end users as well. I don't know, but with .NET Report, the key idea is that, you know, your like, let's say you have a CRM system or something else that, or an accounting system, and you just want your users to quickly run reports or create their own, it lets you do that.
Have any of
Yeah,
you guys used this? I really, really like it because I've worked with a lot of old legacy SSRS reports that have a ton of code in the back end, and it's like you were saying, it takes a while to update, and then there's a slowness in the data load and things like that.
Yeah.
I haven't used .NET Report yet, so I'm just curious if anybody else was using it already.
I don't know if anybody on the group is using it, but obviously we have a lot of companies and users who are using .NET Report. Is anybody on the call using it, or is that what your question was? Or?
Yeah, I'm just curious if anyone has used it on a project or anything. But yeah, no, it's really, really neat. Okay.
Okay, thanks. I'm glad, but you can be one of the users. You can definitely try it out and see.
Yeah.
Okay. So we did create and run a few reports. I already did that. Okay, so I didn't do a whole review on the code, but I guess the breakpoint that I hit kind of showed you, right? So I'll quickly show you where all of that happens. So and this is where I guess I will answer the question about the connection to the backend service as well. So see, Gaurav, as we were creating reports and stuff, you know, the selections that the user is making, whether to schedule it or not, what type of report it is, all of that is saved by the backend service in its own database. So that's the information that it does. But what it does is that it comes back here, and this run report method is where the stuff gets executed. So I'll actually put a breakpoint here. And let me refresh this. It should come in here again. Okay. So what it does is the backend service also builds a SQL statement and sends it back in this encrypted format. Okay, so you know, I mean, it's completely encrypted, and this is where you decrypt, and that's where the private key and API key and stuff comes in a little bit too. But so see, what the system did was based on our selections, it builds a SQL statement, and that's what it sends back. And then when you go step through it, you'll see that it actually executes and opens the connection right here in your step into it. So it picks up the connection string from your web config, and this is where it opens and it runs it. So it's all done here in your local environment completely, okay? And then it says the data adapter and returns the data back to the front end. Okay. So kind of reviewed that. Well, I don't know how much time we have, but we can, you know, there is actually on our website, there's a pretty good knowledge base as well. If I go to .NET Report, I guess knowledge base link was right here. So it explains a lot of these things that I kind of touched upon. You know, there are a lot of advanced features where it has multi-tenant support. You can apply global filters. You can write your own API methods. But, you know, again, the front end is completely up to you, right? So even if you want to change things, like how the report looks like, which layout page to embed in, you know, what I like to show at times is like on our website, there are some screenshots from from customers. I guess mobility, or I think proxy group has another one. Where, so I mean, they're a company, and I'm not sure what they do. They have like some RFID system, but basically .NET Report kind of lives inside their application, right? So this is the layout page. Their page is built on Bootstrap too. So they have their own menu, everything on the left-hand side, and .NET Report, I guess reporting is one of them. And, you can kind of see that it, embeds right into their application, because all you do is kind of change the layout page, because .NET Report, when it installs, it has its own in the shared layout page. So to switch it, all you do is you merge it with your own layout page, and then when you run the application, it kind of becomes, completely part of your application. This is another one. They have a different color scheme, but again, the same concept. You have menus on the left-hand side. .NET Report is running in their application. They actually, Larry is a pretty good developer. I know him. They're based in Texas too. They're in North Texas. That's where the Houston user group is too. But what he did was that, he added a couple of own report types on his own. So he added a heat map and map with pins, which doesn't come out of the box, but he just simply looked at the HTML, changed it, added these types, and, added a map in there. So that's where the open source kind of helps people a lot too, if you want to really expand on it. So in the demo, I guess I kind of just touched a little bit on different report types. I showed you 3 different ones. I kind of reviewed the drill down, which is, the sub report. You can also do link reports. So I'll just quickly show that. I think I lost mine. Okay. So if I go back and edit this report, I can make any of these buttons a link as well. So I can say, so this is where some of the other options are there, right? You can pick the data format. I mean, if you do a currency format, you can choose decimal places. You can label it something else. And you can also, oh, I guess this is not the link. This is the link. I clicked on settings again. This is link. So you can either link it to a URL, or you can link it to another report, so then it should, okay. So for example, yeah, actually employee would be a good one. So I don't know why I keep clicking on settings. So if I link it to my employees report, and then I can choose to pass it as a parameter. Okay, so my employees first, this is actually the ID. I'm not showing the ID here. Anyway, so if I choose the right field, it would actually pass it as a parameter and make it a filter there too. So that's another feature that's in there.
One of the features that people always ask about, at least they ask me for, and I usually tell them no, is can I get a PDF? Is that something that you get a lot of requests on?
Well, PDF is actually built in. So let me run this report. But yeah, people actually, I mean, yeah, it definitely is one of the main things that people do ask, like which format you can export it to. I think I have a breakpoint here. And I'll show you something else also once. Actually, let me export it to PDF. I think I did that already, but this was the employee list in PDF. So yeah, so it actually does generate PDF also. But the fun part is that code is actually right here in your application. So it's actually in the .NET Report model, I think. Export PDF. Okay, download PDF. Okay. So download PDF is the route that it calls, right, with some parameters and stuff. And then this is the method .NET Report helper. And you can actually go and see what we've done to do the PDF implementation. Okay. So if you want to switch it out with something else that you use or prefer, you can do that here. Same thing with Excel. There is a method in here to export to Excel as well. And we're using the Excel worksheet, but everything is that all that code is right here in your front end application. That answer your question?
I noticed that the PDF generation, you're using Chrome to generate it.
I'm using Chromium, exactly. Like it's one of the easier things, because so what it does is that there is a different layout page here, and when you to go to the print report route, it basically just renders this page. Okay, so so if, like, let's say you want to change something in PDF, you can just come in here and change the HTML here. But it's using Chromium in the backend, and that's what it does. It uses Puppeteer Sharp, and the first time you run it, that's where it downloads and installs in your local. So, but it's pretty cool. It actually works perfectly fine in whether you deploy to Azure or to any other place. It's pretty cool.
But it looks like it won't run on Linux, right? The way you're doing the PDF generation. Looks like it's Windows targeted. Have you tried, does this run on Linux on a server?
I honestly don't have anybody who runs. Most of our users, they all run on Azure or just IIS straight up. But
Okay, so app service on Windows.
if you want to, you can definitely try it. But yeah, you're probably right that you might have to change that part out. I'm not sure. Okay, so review how to compare. Oh yeah, compare is another feature. I mean, dashboard is something I would like to show you guys. But again, going back to your question, Garo, about the PDF, like if it really doesn't work, you can switch it out, right? It's open source. But yeah, but Chromium is something that works really well on everything that we've deployed in it. Okay, so dashboard is here. And so dashboard is pretty simple. You can actually create as many as you need. So for example, I want to do my favorite test dashboard. What it does is that it lets you choose different reports from anywhere that you want to put on it, and then you basically save it. I just have 2 reports. I'm going to put both of them on there. And then, so it basically runs both your reports together, and you can kind of drag it and drop it and say, okay, this is how my report's going to look like. So you can, and every user can kind of create their own dashboard and do things that way as well. So that's another feature that comes out of the box. I think I kind of touched on how to embed it in an existing application. All you do is switch out the layout page, but it's documented very well on the knowledge base as well. So, and there are some more screenshots here from another user which they've implemented in that. Okay, and I guess we're done. I think there was one more slide, I think, which I should have probably put in. These are the key team members. Me, I'm one of the main developers. Ahmed is our sales executive. Daniel helps us with marketing. He's a pretty good growth hacker for us. And Sandhya is another developer. She's actually also in Houston. Ahmed's in Louisiana. And these are our key team members. So now back to my question slide.
Cool. Thank you so much, Razi. Does anyone have any questions for Razi? Comments, concerns?
Yeah, any comments, any concerns? I can't remember who gave the comment, but I'm really happy that you guys found it useful.
I think reporting is one of the things that we're always asked to do, and it's great to have another option.
Yeah.
From something that seems like we'd have more control over it in our own solutions.
Yeah.
Rather than having a completely opaque library that we're adding in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
just to
agree.
touch
And
more,
then it does. I was just going to say, yeah, it does look like, maybe if you get the data out there for users, that they can be kind of self-sufficient with the data. It looks like it, yeah.
And it also saves a lot of development times. Like most of our users, the main advantage that we hear from everybody is basically how much time it cut out for development. Like, if somebody comes in and says, oh, I need a new report, you have to go, or existing report, you want to change something, you have to always get the developer involved and things like that. With this, it's just a few clicks and you're done. There's some heavy lifting. Most of the heavy lifting is during configuration, right? When, sometimes things don't work out, like your data structure is different. You might have to create a view for it. It does still support stored procedure, and one other thing I want to touch, I guess there is a question here in chat. How long did it take you? So how long did it take you to develop the first release? I don't know, probably over a year or so. So .NET Report has been in production for, I think, 4+ years now, about 4 years now. And So we keep adding features all the time. Like obviously what you see is a very polished product that it has a lot of things in it. When the first release was done, it was not even, I think, 20% of it, but like the core thing was there, right? You can do list report, summary report. I think some of the charts were there too, but you couldn't do a whole lot. But I don't know, it was probably 6 to 8 months, I think, to get to production the first time.
I think what's
Yeah,
kind of
question.
interesting is we've had a requirement that's come up a lot of times where they say, you know, you say, okay, what do you want in the chart or what do you want in the report? They say, make it like Excel.
Yeah.
And I have to tell them, okay, well, it's going to cost you $6 million and it's going to take 10 years. Are you ready for that?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you really want? Cool. So what's the best way for people to get in touch with you if you have questions or they want to learn more about .NET Report?
So the best thing is our website, dotnetreport.com. You can Google us ad hoc reporting. I think we come up on page one somewhere, but basically dotnetreport.com is the main website. And, you know, you can contact support from there. My personal email is razi.syed@dotnetreport.com if you want to contact me directly. But that's basically the main ways to, you know, it's mainly through the website.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Razi, for presenting. It was really interesting. I always like seeing the new kind of, when you take a new approach to the .NET the reporting question and try to move away from the way that the old kind of report builders and everything have done it.
Yeah.
So it's refreshing to see a slightly different approach to it, and with more focus on the end user and less on, you know, less on making it look like Crystal reports or making it look like SSRS.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Let's forget that. Let's do something different.
Exactly.
And I think it's great. It's great to show. I'm interested to see. Oh, we got one question. What does it cost?
Yeah, what does it cost? So, of course, it's it's not
The $1
free.
million question?
It's so the pricing is on the website too. I'll just go back to the website. It's actually not that expensive at all, considering everything that it gives you. The demo that you sign up for, it's actually free, but it's very limited in the number of API calls you can make. It starts at basically $85 a month for premium license, which basically restricts you to some API call limits, and that's kind of how we monetize it. That's why the cloud version is there. But pretty much everybody who's using it goes towards the enterprise eventually, where they can host it on their own premises, and there is no restriction on how many limits you have. And it's an annual discount is like, you know, it's at 6,500. But so we definitely have many users who are still on premium and premium plus as well. You can always scale up or scale down as you need to. And you know, when they're setting it up, they're always hitting the limits. So we give you, you know, pretty much free the first month, where you can kind of, when you're setting it up, you can do the whole thing without hitting those limits and restrictions. But yeah, but that's where the cost is. It's all on the website.
Yeah, I think when people try to do the buy versus build and realize that it's going to take them more than $6,500 to build this, then hopefully
Exactly.
hopefully they see the value in something like this.
Definitely. And I mean, you know, there are definitely other solutions out there. Everybody has their little bit of pros and cons or niche, but with, you know, with what everything that .NET Report does, it's probably, you know, very, very low price compared to all the features that you get. And we have a lot of enterprise users. We keep growing and we keep adding features as people requested. And, you know, like I was showing you here too, that everything is in Git, so you can always kind of see what we're working on and what we're doing. You know, I think there is a branch here. Everything is in different branches as well, but there are features that you can kind of go and see that, you know, what we've coded over time. And
Cool.
Yeah.
Are you hiring?
Volunteers? No, I'm joking. No, of course, not at the moment. I think we're not hiring a developer right now because, but I mean, anything can come up. You can always email. At the moment, I don't think we're hiring developers. Somebody for sales for sure. I mean, if you have somebody for sales, I mean, you know, we can code all day long, right? But selling is very difficult. I don't even know happens, but
It's the
salesperson
dark
is
magic process.
dark magic. Yes. If anybody can figure out sales, sure.
Cool. Lisa, did you get information from everybody that I think almost everybody won a prize, right? Did you get information from everyone? An email
So
address
there
or
are a few people I'm missing. So there's someone named Martin.
looks like he dropped.
The C Forbes, Mark Reynolds, you won again, but I have your email. And
Okay,
then yeah, Razi, and
Oh,
yeah.
I won something too. Yes.
Yes, you did. I didn't want to bother you while you were presenting, but you had won something as well.
You get too excited and you forget what he's going to present.
Yep.
So make sure you get your email, at least your email address to Lisa. You can hit her on the chat here, or you can send her an email. It's on the chat as well. If you do not claim your prize, we will try our best, but if it doesn't, then it will go back to the pool and make it work. Other than that, that pretty much wraps us up. Razi, thank you again. And on our report,
No, thank you
for
guys. Thank
presenting.
you so much for letting me present, and thank you for the comments. I mean, I see some people are saying that I wish they had it back in 2008, and we have it now. So yeah, hopefully you guys will try it out, and if you have somebody who you can recommend it to, definitely let us know.
It's a homegrown Houston project.
Yeah.
So take it in your rotation, try it out, see if it's good. And if it's not, then we got to fix it because stuff from Houston's got to be good.
It is good. Don't worry about that.
Cool. All right. Thank you guys very much. And you all have a great, safe evening. I will cease recording and